Rival Sports Pod, covering the New York sports scene and behind the scenes, including the Buffalo Bills, New York Jets, New York Mets, and everything else in New York sports worth your precious time. And now here's Joe Pastor and Glenn Ferretti.
Welcome to another episode of Rival Sports Pod. I'm Joe Pastor here with Glenn Ferretti and Brian Cole, and I just got to get this off my chest is just why. Why do the Buffalo Bills have to find the most painful ways to lose? Like, you're dominated the entire game by the Patriots. The score is 22-10. You're like, oh, the game's over. Then, touchdown pass to Diggs, 17-22. They're probably still in trouble. Then they score again, 25-22. You're like, oh, okay, we could hold them. Maybe they get a field goal. Then, they get a big play to Stevenson, flag on the field, illegal lineman downfield. They pick up the flag. Apparently, there was no penalty. It was the correct call. We could talk about that later. Before you know it, they punch it in for the touchdown. And you think it's game over, but then we've got this bomb downfield that it looks like Diggs is going to catch it to 30 and maybe we'll have a chance, but he drops it. Like, why can't they just lose like a normal team?
That's a good question, my friend. That is a real good question. That was a lot of wishful thinking things were going to happen. I would say the fact that you even had a chance in your mind at the end was luck in itself, the way they were playing.
25-22, if you looked at the next gen stats, the win probability had to be pretty high.
Yeah, for the Patriots, the team that was winning?
No, the Bills were winning 25-22. It had to have been pretty high. Oh yeah, the next gen stats must have been terrible when the Bills were, what did I say, 17-22? I meant 25-22.
Yeah, one would have
it must have been terrible when the Bills were losing, right?
Yeah,
I thought for sure, maybe they go down, kick a field goal, and then we go to overtime. And in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, that's fine. We can beat this team in overtime. And I don't know why I would think that we could beat them so easily in overtime because they had dominated us the whole game. But you're right, Joe. It's like a Netflix series, it's like every week is just a different episode and it keeps you tuned in right till the end. And then, it was a gut punch. This was, it doesn't, a loss is a loss, but if they would have just got blown out, I think I was mentally I had moved on. Glenn had already, chalked it up as a loss and it sent us a whole bunch of texts.
Right. You're right.
Actually,
I was right.
Glenn claims that he wasn't even watching the game, which I knew he was. But
I'm so committed to this podcast, I had to watch every second of that game.
Exactly. But yeah, Joe, you're right. It was a gut punch.
Yeah,
I love it how you're calling it a Netflix series. If the Bills season so far was a Netflix series, this is definitely not the script that would have been written in the beginning of the year. You guys are really playing that off like this is the season that you expected so far.
Yeah, well, we could have done Hard Knocks and then just had our quarterback go out there and get injured on the third play. But
right, could you imagine still being 3-3 and having your backup quarterback playing and beating the Bills, Eagles, and barely losing to the Chiefs? Yeah, I would say that would be a pretty good story.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Joe?
But you want to talk about Super Bowl windows. The Jets is narrow, but back to the Bills, though, it's almost like they're cursed. I would say it would have to be like the curse of O.J. Simpson, but the wide right happened before that. But it's how do these things possibly happen? This must, with all the losses that they've had, this might be one of the worst losses of McDermott's career.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the curse of running the best play caller quarterback tandem in I guess outside of Andy Reid and what was the offensive coordinator, the guy at Washington now?
Eric Bieniemy
and Mahomes breaking that crew up, even though they're still rolling along. But dude, the Bills broke up with Dable, and he hasn't been the same guy since.
Yeah, well, Dable broke up with them.
Yeah, maybe. There's money out there. We're talking about NFL teams, lucrative things. You could sell him on. There's a chance that he could be taking over this team if things don't continue to go the way they are. You don't think McDermott would probably be fired this year if Dable was still on the staff? He would certainly. I know he has a lot of pressure. I listened to talk radio today, but he would certainly have a lot more pressure if Dable was still there.
Oh, for sure. Certainly Dorsey's not going to take over. Which reminds me, we got a Christmas present here for Ken Dorsey from Santa. I wonder what it's not
I
what I
can't
thought.
believe-
And by the way,
It's-
I just want to say I've been tuning into the podcast. I'm a big fan. I question the sequencing of the holidays a bit because, Halloween's right around the corner. So I would have
Mhm.
thought you would start with tricks or treats and then move on to Christmas. Just some fan feedback. There's a
Yeah.
lot of chatter. Some
I-
people love the joke past your, Santa Claus gifts, but
Hey,
just some thoughts.
these are all from Santa. Yeah, maybe that's something to keep in mind. But what we got in here, it's not what I thought it would be in this kind of bag. It's actually a plane ticket for Ken Dorsey from Buffalo to anywhere. It's dated the 27th, so I guess they're gonna stick with them through the Thursday game. Too short to get some new plays in. He's in the middle seat, flying coach at 5 a.m. red eye. So not even Santa must like Ken Dorsey very much.
That's nice. I'm surprised you guys even sprung for a plane ticket. I thought it'd be on like a bus ride or something.
Hey, we have class in Buffalo. Or
Yeah.
Santa. That's it's Santa too, So
So, Joe, I want to get your thoughts, because I've been, thinking about this. And, I know Glenn and I, we go back and forth. We have a lot of texts, and it's all in good fun, right?
Sometimes.
We've talked about sometimes. I think the Super Bowl parade, it's still on, right? I haven't canceled my ticket to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. But in all seriousness, let's be realistic about the Bills, Joe. I want to get your take. I feel like when the 13 seconds year, that was our window, that was our opportunity. Obviously, we didn't advance. I just feel like the Bills have not made enough investments on the offensive side of the ball, and I think a big gap is Gabe Davis, Dawson Knox. I just don't think these guys are weapons around Diggs, and teams are just dialing it up on Diggs, and there's no other options. I think that's a part of it, and I think it's play calling. I think Josh, obviously, Glenn, isn't perfect all the time. I think he's, making mistakes, right? And then my last point would be, someone compare Josh Allen to a golden retriever today, and that he just wants to run and be a good boy and run, and they've kind of pulled that back. And to Glenn's point, he always called him a running back. Now he's not a running back at all. I know that's a lot to unpack, Joe, but
it is. First point, 2021. Yes, that was their best chance or window because they were healthy and they were playing well and they had Dable calling the plays. I don't think that means, though, that the window's closed because you missed that one opportunity. As long as you have Josh Allen in a supporting cast and a system that works. And I'm not so sure we don't have the supporting cast. I would like to have brought in more people, but look at how they're using them and look at how the system is, right? So the touchdown pass to Knox that got called back. Do you know where Knox was playing? He was split out wide like a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who was in the slot? Was Latavius Murray. How many times has Latavius Murray been a slot receiver in his career? Not many. And guess what happened? He got called for one of these mysterious illegal contacts, which I'm sure happened. Why wouldn't you put Hardy in there? You brought him in for a reason. Look at that play he had with the shaking and bacon, right? To get by a couple of guys. Why wasn't he in there? You bring in Trent Sherfield. He could play, right? He has 4.4 speed. He could fly. Why isn't he split out wide? We're probably going to see that now because Dawson Knox is getting, wrist surgery. But it's also a system thing, and being stuck to this 12 personnel that sounded like a good idea when you brought in Dalton Kincaid, who had his career game, but it's not working. So I'm not so sure we don't have good enough players on the offense. When you have a Mahomes or when you have a Josh Allen, I think you could get by with the right play calling without having, a fantasy team type of roster. I think the biggest problem is the system from what I'm seeing.
So you think Gabe Davis? You think he's a legit number 2? Because I don't.
No, I think Dalton Kincaid can be that. I think Cook getting involved appropriately could do that. No, a good game for Gabe Davis is 85 yards and a touchdown. on 3 catches.
I feel like he can't get open. He can't get open.
It's
like
happened
he gets
many
open
games
on those
this year.
deep balls when Josh extends plays, but I don't feel like he has. And I'm not an expert, but like the route running or the speed to just get himself open.
He doesn't. He has a limited route tree. And, I call him Gabriel Scissorhands for a reason, because he doesn't, make his triangle, like they teach you in Pop Warner. So, no, he's not. But I think you could work around that when you have a Josh Allen. I would like someone better. But what I'm saying is I still think with the roster they have and the right play calling that they could beat any team, which they've shown they can do.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you guys are living in the past. I mean, it's basically what it sounds like. We're trying to talk about like this season, and like, yeah, they can win games, but they just haven't been.
Mm-hmm.
So
they pummeled Miami.
They beat the Dolphins this year. That's their only win so far.
Yeah.
Unless you want to claim victory over the Raiders as a good win, or the Commanders.
Well, you could only play.
Who just lost to the Giants. Barely.
You could only
lost
play
to the
who's on your schedule.
Well, I understand, and you haven't beat any of the good teams.
Who are the good teams that they've played?
Well, in your mind, Jacksonville's a good team now.
Jacksonville's a good team, yeah.
They're a good team now because they beat the Bills.
Yeah.
The Jets.
Well, they're 5-2, so they've beaten quite a few teams.
Yeah. The Jets are 3-3, and then the Bills claim their overtime loss to the Chiefs as a moral victory. That's nice that we're still having moral victories.
Okay.
So the other thing last night, when I was also thinking about the Bills' record at 4-3, it took me back to what I call Bills math, Joe, and you probably maybe have done this. It usually happens like around a Thanksgiving gathering. This was like during the drought when the Bills are like just not doing great, but like you're starting to add up in your head, like, oh, we've got this many games coming up. We can win that game. We can win this game. And if this happens and that happens, by Christmas, we'll be looking at maybe a wild card.
Right.
And then you go to the same gathering for Christmas, and it's like, it's not happening. That was the math I did in the drought. And this, for the first time in like the last 4 or 5 years, because the Bills have been relevant, I was doing that math, saying we're 4-3.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to win 6 more games, right, Glenn? We get to 10 wins. I think that maybe does the AFC East, or maybe not, maybe a wild card. But
10 wins? I
don't know. Maybe
the wild cards were 10 wins.
10 wins is winning the AFC East?
I mean, if we beat Miami again, I don't know.
Yeah, if we beat Miami, maybe Jets sweep by Miami, it's possible. Or you're a wild card. But you never know. You could win a division. It's crazier things have happened.
Yeah, you can't sweep the Jets, though. You would have had to win week
split
1.
with the Jets and sweep the Miami.
Sounded like sweep.
But there's a path to 10 wins, right? But
for sure.
And Glenn, you did bring this up. It's a great point. Arguably, we have the toughest part of our schedule coming up, right?
Yeah, well, we have the 3-1. So we could go 3-1 the next 4 games, right? So we have the Buccaneers, and then in that 4-game span, you also have the Bengals, the Broncos, and the Jets. So you got to go 3-1 in that span, and then the last 6 games you got to play 500 ball, and there's your 6 wins. So yes, Cole, I did do the Bills math.
I love it. I love it how you guys are mathing it to the under Vegas odds for the beginning of the season. That's the thing is that it's how quickly the expectations have changed in Buffalo from like there's no chance we're not winning the division. Bills were probably a second or third favorite to win the Super Bowl preseason this year.
They should have been.
And right now you guys are basically figuring out a way just to get to 10 wins and a potential wild card.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but like half of their defense, got hurt, which isn't expected. Just like what happened to the Jets, right? Jets fans were like,
you can't use that.
We're so good. The Jets fans were like, ooh, we're on Hard Knocks. Look, we got Aaron Rodgers and he's in all the commercials. We're going to be so good now. Oh, look at all the old guys he's bringing in to play with. He's with his old OC. We're going to be so good. And then you say something like, oh, you hurt our feelings because you made fun of us because our quarterback is hurt. And then there you are, like paying no attention to the fact that half of the Bills' defense, is hurt. Matt Milano's down. They had no middle of their defensive line. They lose Trey White. So like
how quickly you changed your tune from last week.
So it seems like
you were singing the defense's praises last week, and now it's injuries. I just love it. The Bills are full of excuses. And it's just we're just used to it. It's just a common theme. Like, yeah, obviously we lost Aaron Rodgers. We're clearly overachieving at this point. But I sat around and thought about it today and said, if you looked at like our team in the AFC against a bunch of other teams, right now we have the most quality wins out of anyone. Yeah, do we have some bad losses? Like, I'd 100% agree. We never should have lost to the Patriots. Like, that was an absolute game we should have won. We'd be sitting at 4-2. When we started the season, even with Aaron Rodgers, when we were talking amongst Jets fans, we were saying 3-3 would be great with Aaron Rodgers through the first 6 games because our schedule is flip-flopped. We're playing the hard teams up front. So our realistic fans were saying we'd love to be here with A-Rod. We're sitting here with Zach Wilson.
But it is you're making it sound like it's not realistic to think that the Bills are going to be good this year. The Bills have a very good roster. The only reason they've been able to hang in there is because they have depth in their roster. The defense did get exposed by someone like Belichick, and it seems like the critical mass was not having Ed Oliver in there in the middle was the critical mass of where the defense went from being good to not being able to stop anybody. We'll see if that's the case when he comes back, or if the defense was, in your words, overachieving those games with the injuries, like when the Jets were out, or is the Bills defense still going to be able to play good with some of those players missing?
Well, or you're in the Mets situation or the Jets situation where you're relying on some old guys like Von Miller who played 6 plays.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're going to have to chalk that up to like he's probably not part of the plan. So there's another hole on defense.
But Von Miller, I mean, I don't want to be an armchair quarterback, but we paid a lot of money to Von Miller. And Joe, what did he play? Was it 8-9 games? I mean, he was very productive last year.
Yeah,
but
he won the Kansas City game for us in the regular season.
But I mean, I think now is he going to really come back and be Von Miller at his age? And with had 2 pretty significant knee surgeries. I mean, at his age, really?
The way I look at Von Miller is I'm not expecting to, and I would have said the same thing at the beginning of the year. I'm not expecting anything. Anything we get out of him is a plus. I think that defense is fine without Von Miller. Where you get hurt is when you lose. They lost, like, you could argue, the 3 worst possible guys to lose on defense. Matt
Milano, for sure.
Matt Milano, Trey White, and DaQuan Jones, who is not only great stopping the run, he's second only to Aaron Donald in quarterback pressures up the middle. That's
and Matt Milano is like the only guy that can tackle on the Bills. I mean, tackling again, was a problem yesterday. I mean, I forget who missed that tackle on that screenplay, but
that was Rapp.
It killed us.
It was Rapp, the safety they brought in from the Rams. He struggled. They talked him up like he was going to be a good player, and he seemed to disappoint a little bit, at least in my eyes.
Yeah. So one other thing, because I'm new to the podcast here, and I appreciate the platform, is Glenn, I don't know if you've shared with the listeners really your vision for the Hater Bar. Maybe you could take a few minutes and talk about, the Hater Bar and what it's all about. Because I think it's an interesting concept, and I'd like to have you share more.
I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? I mean, it's where all us Western New York non-Bills fans get to go on a Sunday and enjoy some banter about the Buffalo Bills with, kind of piped in, probably like the Bills fans, talking Super Bowl week 1, week 2. Then we get to where we are today. It's week 6 or 7. We kind of start making some of the excuses. We pipe in some of that audio, and we're able to kind of enjoy the games where we could see where the teams really, where everything really plays out. It's a fun environment. We're hoping to create it in the next few years. We're also open to Bills fans coming because I think it makes for an even better experience.
Yeah, and I think the one thing you had talked about was hanging jerseys. I actually thought this was pretty funny, of all like our terrible quarterbacks like Trent Edwards, J.P. Lossman, Joe. I mean, who else?
You need a Norwood in there.
E.J. Manuel. Yeah, the list goes on and on.
Trent Edwards.
Yeah, we had him.
Nathan Peterman.
Yeah, and it's open to everyone, right? But the goal is it's a Bills Hater Bar where haters go to hate and watch the game. And you would have other games on, right, Glenn?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
is
I
there
wouldn't
like
go
a
to
Tom
one.
Brady jersey in there?
No, I don't think we would have that because we're
No.
Jets fans mostly,
Okay.
so I'm not hanging a Tom Brady jersey anywhere. But yeah, I mean, you go there and you talk about the old days, the 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You get to talk about the Flutie Rob Johnson decision.
Like you could get like
the Music City Miracle, the 13 seconds. You get to live them all
Yeah.
up. It's just an exciting time.
You could get like urinal cakes that are shaped like, like the buffalo.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, I think I don't know, we'll have to think of some creative things to do with like prices of beers and things like that for the Bills. Maybe however many times we get to sing the Bills chant when the other team scores. I'm not really.
You play the shout song. You play the shout song when the opponent scores.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We would get everybody going there.
And and I don't think though, Glenn, just from a business and marketing standpoint, you should focus in on just like Jets fans. I mean, I would welcome anyone that is just a pure hater of the Bills.
There's plenty of them out there, so it'd probably be a pretty lucrative business.
Yeah. Because I've talked about, just for again, because, this is a show and just some history, Glenn, and again, we have a lot of texts that go back and forth about the Bills. And, I always talk about there's nothing like a Sunday morning. You go like, let's say it's 12 o'clock before a Bills game. You wear your Bills gear, you're in Wegmans, and you get the Go Bills from everybody. That energy, that feel. You go to Sunoco, right, to get your lottery tickets in the morning, Joe, and your scratch-offs. And, the guy there sees your Bills hat and says, Go Bills. Maybe one day, Glenn, you'll have a Bills jersey on and you can feel in that because it is some energy. And I know you guys make fun of it, but I've had my kids go around and say Go Bills to people in Wegmans and they've had, a great time with it.
Yeah, I'm sure there weren't a lot of them going around at like 4:30 this past Sunday. But it's funny you say that because, that actually happens a lot. It actually just happened to me at my son's football game when I had my Jets hat on. Is a guy from the opposing team actually came down out of the bleachers and gave me a high five for being a Jets fan in Western New York. So that was pretty exciting to have that. So we get our own little.
How often does that happen?
You know what? But it's more close. We're in touch. We know the pains and struggles that we've been through as well, and we're coming out the other side. So it's a good experience for us. But hey, if the excitement of your Sunday is a Go Bills and you wind up losing the game, at least you have that memory to remember.
The Bills have done a lot more winning than losing, since
recently,
2020. Yeah.
And you got to block out.
And we have the late 80s, 90s Super Bowls, which, the Jets fans, most Jets fans today don't even know what it's like to make it to a Super Bowl.
Right. We went to 2 AFC championships. I don't talk about winning a Super Bowl before I was born, even though it still counts. It's not that it doesn't count, but I don't talk about obviously enjoying it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we can't enjoy the 69 Mets either,
Right. But it's nice that we have that one. I wouldn't want to be a franchise with no Super Bowls. That would be tough.
Well, that also could have been a fixed Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl most likely to be fixed because the NFC won the first 2. So if the AFC didn't win one, there was talk of disbanding the merger. So there's a great documentary about it, how that Super Bowl is fixed, so the Jets might not.
Joe, I think you might have been hanging out with Aaron Rodgers too much with his UFO theories on that one.
Yeah, I was going to say I've seen a lot of documentaries about the quarterback that guaranteed a victory in like one of the biggest upsets
I wonder
in
how
Super
he
Bowl
knew.
History. Right, he's got the inside scoop. We know he has that guy has the scoop. But Cole, you're also playing a very level-headed Bills fans right now, where you're typically very negative when it comes to the Bills and the outcome of the games and the season. So it's nice to see this little lighter side of you. But typically, like the Bills will be down 7-0 in the first quarter, and you'll basically be saying the game's over. So I'm not so sure you're actually really thinking deep down playoffs at this point. I think you're thinking utter catastrophe and just hoping something else happens.
Yeah, so during the game, like I get more emotional and wrapped up into it. But I think afterwards, just going through the drought, I was at the comeback game, right, which was great. We ended up.
Well, you left early.
I went early. No, I didn't leave early.
Oh, I don't know about this. A lot of stories about you leaving the comeback game early.
The only one who would know that story is my dad and I, and we did not leave.
We're going to have to get him
because my dad was cheap, and he's like, we paid for these tickets. You know, the weather sucks; they're getting killed, but we're staying here.
I thought he would want to beat the traffic, possibly.
No.
All right.
But I guess I've, and Joe, probably for you too, right? A little bit of a thicker skin. I mean, it's emotional during the game, but afterwards you kind of can step back and say, maybe I need to start doing that Bills math again around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and again, it's like, like you get frustrated a little bit when it's like, why do they have to keep losing in these ways, in these excruciating fashions? But
why are we acting like this week was an excruciating loss? You were losing the whole game.
And then you had a chance to win.
Okay,
that's the thing.
So
you had no chance, and then it looked like you were going to win. All you had to do was stop an offense that has never scored 20 points this season. That's all you had to do.
Not that day.
That's why it's excruciating.
Yeah, I mean,
how is that hard to understand?
It's a bad loss. Believe me, I would feel terrible, but I would feel like you guys were lucky to even be in the game at the end. Like the fact that you took the lead for the situation you were in, that was kind of the amazing part. The fact that they went down and scored, that absolutely sucked, but they really had been a pretty efficient offense throughout the day.
Hey, when you got JA-17, it doesn't feel like luck.
No, it doesn't. He's over there pouting on the sidelines. What was he saying last week or the other day? All the offensive coordinators sitting in the stands, they always know better. That seemed like a shot at Ken Dorsey, to be honest with you. Less about the fans. Because that's basically saying that everybody's questioning what Ken Dorsey has to say, and he's acknowledging that he's hearing.
He was questioning. He is hearing it, but what he's saying is it's nonsense. That he's basically criticizing all the armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah, but he's hearing it. If that's not a topic of conversation, he's not even acknowledging it.
But the funny thing too is when you look at how bad the Bills played, they converted 7 times on 3rd and 4th down on Sunday. Plays of 6, 7, 8, and 15 yards for those first downs. So like that's the thing too, is like as bad as they were played, they lost that game by 1 score. All of these games and losses, the Bills have all had a chance to win those games despite the fact that they played poorly.
Yeah. Most NFL games are within a touchdown spread.
Glenn, do you believe that Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now?
I mean, it depends on what you look at as a barometer.
That's like, never mind.
No, I don't care. You could say what you want to say. It's not gonna hurt my feelings. Like, yeah, obviously he's played well throughout the season. He's made some mistakes. I mean, we made him look horrible when we played him, so that's kind of what I hang my hat on. But yeah, he's played well against Washington, Oakland, played well against Miami. Played well yesterday, but really in a situation that is perfect for him. He just gets to drop back and throw every pass. He hasn't been able, which I know Bills fans are talking about now, is you guys want to get away from the whole balanced offense because that's not his thing, dude. He lives on the edge. You guys are either going to live on the edge or you're going to be an average team.
Well, and again, go back to that comment, live on the edge, right? When have the Bills been the best this year? Those ends of the games when you're pushing it, when you're living on the edge, so to speak. Like it's almost like he thrives on that throughout the entire game.
I just mean like his success of like you're putting up a lot of points, he's doing what he does is when he's living on the edge, playing free, doing whatever he does. You guys are going to deal with him trying to jump over players and throw deep balls. You're going to lose some of those games, but probably going to win more than the way you're trying to play right now.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Brett Favre.
Yeah. It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And I'll gladly take. Last time I checked, Favre was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many plays did he extend yesterday? I mean, he extends so many plays.
Yes.
And I mean, I still think.
Did he even run yesterday? I don't even think he ran, did he?
Yeah, they were some called runs actually yesterday.
Yeah, but I'm saying like not a lot of like freelance running on his own.
He had a 3rd and 8 that he threw the ball was an incomplete pass where he could have got the first down, and that there were a couple of those today that they were talking about, and he would have ran right.
Yeah,
listen, he's still our guy. Yeah. So and
7 carries for 17 yards. Yeah, it's 7 carries for 17 yards.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey, I think, coached that out of him. Him and McDermott, who might need to go too, but The problem getting rid of McDermott is who's better out there. Like I feel more and more, and I think I may have said this before, like McDermott is our Marvin Lewis. Who
Marty Schottenheimer.
is it? Yep, very good coach.
I would say it's probably disrespectful to Marty Schottenheimer.
I don't, dude.
I mean, McDermott's
he rescued a miserable franchise, and remember, it wasn't Josh Allen that broke the playoff drought. He broke the playoff drought with Tyrod Taylor and a team that looked like they were tanking. They traded Sammy Watkins. They traded Robert Woods. They traded all these defensive players. Anquan Bolden retired rather than play for the team because it looked like they were tanking, and then they ended up making the playoffs. So,
like, no, I just think Marvin Lewis, your first, is probably a better
analogy.
Yeah, I think.
Did Schottenheimer ever go to a Super Bowl?
No, but I think is he a Hall of Famer? I mean, he didn't win a Super Bowl. No, I mean that's kind of the one thing.
Because he was the Chiefs who could never beat Jim Kelly.
Yeah, but he had some ridiculous Chargers teams
that were like 14-2 and stuff.
Yeah, that didn't get it done.
Yeah, I think, McDermott, like, he brings a lot. Like, he's the process guy. He's the look you in your eye and really kind of get people motivated. He can connect with people, build character, but they're coaching football, X's and O's, right? He knows defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and can he also make game time decisions, and can he adapt, right? I heard yesterday or today they were talking about Mike McDaniel and how he's been great in everything he's doing in Miami, but Philly kind of used the Bills playbook, and now people are saying, well, McDaniel will be defined if he can adapt, right? You can build a great scheme, but you got to be able to adapt. So I just don't think McDermott has that in him, but he has some other qualities. So to your point, Joe, I don't know who's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ken Dorsey.
Dude, if there were just some ridiculous coaches sitting out there, they would be hired. I mean, that's just how it goes. I mean,
and you don't want to bring in these guys who have been like retired for years, like your Sean Paytons and your John Grudens or whoever. That never ends well.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only guy to maybe consider would be do you give like an Eric Bieniemy a shot? That's what I said last year when I said McDermott should be fired. That's the only guy I think that I possibly would give a shot to.
Things start changing as the year, with the college coaches and, some of the other hot coordinators that wind up, coming about. But, I mean, I don't think there's any chance they actually fire McDermott.
No.
Definitely not this year.
No. If anything, they fired Dorsey.
Right. But that would be hard since he's the defensive coordinator, too. It's like he's already put himself in a situation where he's head coach and defensive coordinator. How can you really fire your offensive coordinator mid-year? Not mid-year, but maybe at the end of the year.
But Joe, we're not going to have that conversation because we're going to get to 10 or 11 wins, right, Glenn?
Maybe. Yeah, Cole loves the over and unders. That's the best part. I mean, Joe, let me hear your thoughts on this. So we made a bet earlier in the year. The Jets over-under season total with Aaron Rodgers was 9.5 wins.
Okay.
So the bet that we placed was the Jets would have to win 12 games for me to win. 11 games was a push, and 10 games is a loss because this guy doesn't even want to take what Vegas, who, does this all day long.
But you took the bet. So I
because
negotiated a better deal. That's
not really because I'm not scared. But that wasn't even the bad part. I was fine with the bad deal because we had Aaron Rodgers at the time. Yeah. Somehow it's still in play, which is crazy. But then he tries to double down during the game yesterday and says, "Oh, let's double the bet for the Jets to beat the Bills to win the AFC East. Or the Jets have a better record than the Bills." I'm like, dude. Like, are you the king of like making the worst like bets out to somebody? Like, have some confidence, dude.
Or like the guy in fantasy football that just like offers you like ridiculous trades, and then you counter with something reasonable, and they're like offended by your reasonable offer.
Right. So for me to not lose, the Jets now set an over under at 11. If I don't lose that one, I'm going to double down on that team as well with a backup quarterback.
Well, here, Glenn,
but you are pretty down on the Bills. So to be fair, maybe you should make that bet because you do have a lot of negative things to say about the Buffalo Bills. So maybe you should make that bet to put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, I think I already did that. I mean, I bet on my own team. I mean, I put my money where my mouth is. I'm not.
But you bet on your team in isolation, right?
I feel
you bet
like
on your team's record. You didn't bet your team relative to the Buffalo Bills because
Right.
you're praising their season, right? Like there should be a Disney movie made about them because they're 3-3 and their quarterback got hurt.
No, but I bet on my own team. Like his counter offer should have said, "I'll bet you that the Bills still get to 11 wins or more."
Every
That would have been
negotiation,
a different story.
starts at the far end. So I'm going to give you the worst deal and then work back till I get a favorable
No,
deal.
you would never have betted at the real line. Let's not kid ourselves.
You took the bet, so
yeah.
What
I'm not
about-
complaining about that.
So here's a question. Do you think the Bills or the Jets finish with the better record?
I'd say the Bills right now. I mean, they're
Okay.
projected to finish much better than the Jets.
But
If
you
we-
said projections don't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that, we're playing with a second string quarterback. I mean, obviously the guy hasn't turned the ball over, but he also, he hasn't been Patrick Mahomes out there. He had one game where he outdueled Patrick Mahomes. But, if you were to say right now, I would think the Bills should finish with a better record. Do I think it's going to be like a 3 or 4 game difference? No, probably be close.
Yeah, and you're right, Glenn. I think it's the longevity of like Zach Wilson in getting to 10 or 11 wins. The same thing, with why I'm not worried about, the Patriots beat the Bills. It's a terrible loss, but like I'm not worried about Mac Jones, right? And I'm not really worried about Zach Wilson, right? It's the Dolphins. I mean, that's what it is,
That's
Joe.
so
It
great.
boils down to the Dolphins.
That's so great. He's not worried about the 2 guys that already beat him.
I'm not. Long term, I don't think that they're going to sustain it. Now, the Bills may completely fall apart, even more than they already have, but
Right. Well,
Yeah.
they do play both teams at home, so that should help.
right.
But we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I'm just glad, that both AFC East teams lost yesterday, so we picked up a game in the standings, sitting at home watching football. It was a nice feeling for a day.
Yeah.
But I do. I mean, I will stand by it though. I mean, right now we have the better wins than a lot of the teams in the AFC East. Whether it plays out like that as the season goes on, that's to be determined. But I feel really confident in our defense that they could be a special defense for the year that could lead a team, just like some of these other teams have won with defense.
Yeah, they can. I was kind of surprised. I don't remember who it was. Another Jets fan showed me an ESPN article. I don't remember who wrote it, that had the best defenses in the NFL, the top 7. And they didn't even put the Jets in there. They gave them honorable mention.
That's nice of them.
And, like, how are the Jets honorable mention? Like, maybe you don't want to give, I think one may have been Cleveland, but it's like,
yeah.
How are the Jets not like in the top 5?
Well, with a team that's given up 31 points in the second half.
Exactly.
The entire season.
It may have been before. Oh, the Jets, yeah.
Yeah, the Jets have given up 31 total points in the second half of the season, 0 against the Eagles.
I thought you were talking about how the Cleveland gave up all those points this weekend.
Joe, this is a quick turn this week, right? I mean, we're sitting here on a Monday night. I mean, we've got a game Thursday against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Earlier in the season, we all circled like, we should win this, but it's a short week. I mean, you could be back on this podcast Friday. We could be 4-4 and completely decimated. I mean, that's going to be, I think, a tough matchup.
They got a good defense. The short week, I think, is good because, the Bills are a very cohesive unit where a lot of them have played together for a long time.
Glenn is not buying that.
They don't seem like a very cohesive unit right now.
Much like, Jerry Jeudy said after the Dolphins trashed him, he's like, I'm going to turn off all my social media until we play again. I think it's good for the players to just try to get that in the rear view as best they can and move forward. But yeah, the Tampa Bay defense is no slouch, and Baker Mayfield's playing a little better than people probably thought he was going to.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing that could happen is they get right back out on the field and don't have to wait and see what they could do. I expect them to bounce back. It's probably a good spot to take the Bills. I mean, it's like the hungry dog scenario right now. I mean, they got to be one of the hungriest dogs out there coming off of that game against New England, not playing well against the Giants, and then losing to Jacksonville. Kind of feels like 3 losses in a row.
What is the line, Glenn, for Thursday?
I don't know. It's a good question. I got to imagine.
You looking at it?
Yeah,
it was interesting on a national broadcast today. They were like saying what a stinker the game, another Thursday night stinker game on Prime, they said, with the Bucks and the Bills. And I'm like, I mean, maybe just because I'm a Bills fan, but I don't know if I'd go that far. It was on a national. They were like laughing about, another terrible game like Jacksonville, New Orleans.
7.5
Bills and Bucks.
I do think, and I know the Jets have a ton of primetime games, but I do think teams are sick of seeing the same teams in primetime all the time. It is kind of annoying. Like, it's like tonight's game. I know it's the Niners, but I'm not really like looking super forward to it because I feel like I watched them a few times already this year at night.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's like switch it up, but it's hard to find a good game then. You don't want to just straight clunker of a game, but But these they schedule, like Tampa Bay is not really a great game to schedule as a night game, but they probably had to give them one.
Yeah, everybody gets one. But like you don't want to watch, you don't want to watch like freaking, I don't know, Arizona play the Atlanta Falcons.
Right.
No one wants to watch that game.
Yeah,
but speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, there was another gift here for Bijan Robinson.
Wasn't he sick? Are you going to pick on a sick guy?
He got some cucumber slices. What? Why would there be cucumbers? Oh, and some Excedrin. It must be for his headache that kept him out of the game. That's that's these players. I think cucumber slices would be appropriate if that's your constitution, that you sit out a game because you had a headache. Like, could you imagine Terrell Davis or any of these guys, sitting out Marshawn Lynch because they had a headache?
Ed Oliver's toe injury.
Well, toe could be rough because you push off that. I'm talking about a headache here. Not a toe injury.
Well, headaches are nothing to mess with these days, Got to be careful out there. I
guess.
He probably picked a good game to sit out, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe if he has the cucumber slices now, he'll be able to get back in.
Yep.
Joe, do you think the Bills are jet lagged still?
Probably. Jacksonville seems just fine. They actually said Jacksonville went 4-0 in a 16-day span.
Did they?
Pretty impressive. Kind of washes away all the Bills' excuses.
Well, the thing about that is that he didn't use the word experimenting, but the Goodell used the word basically like this was like a test case to see what it was like for a team playing multiple games in a row in London. And I'm like, I'm glad you could basically use the Buffalo Bills as your experiment. Like, why couldn't you experiment on Atlanta or Arizona, these other teams, that I brought up? No, but you got to take care of business. But I think that is probably an advantage for Jacksonville. But then again, if the Bills win, maybe the Jacksonville fans are saying, our players were sick of being on the road. Right. They haven't slept in their own bed. They miss their families, the culture shock, whatever.
Everybody's got a story.
I think they're going to look back and really, I think they added the extra game. And then you look at all of the primetime games, the Thursday games. It had Monday forever, but the Sunday night game. And then you look at these teams like, the Bills, the Chiefs. It is grueling. Like, if you're, football players and coaches, they're creatures of habit, and it's tough to get in a routine. I mean, you've had a lot more injuries.
Yeah, the NFL did not need another game for sure. I think it's clearly showing with the injuries, to your point, is that it's just too tough of a game. Do we really get that excited because we have one more week of football? I don't even really notice the difference.
No.
The similar teams are getting in the playoffs at the end of the year. You might get a 500 team in there, but it's certainly not good. I mean, there have been tons of injuries.
Yeah. And between that and then all the talk about the turf and stuff.
Yep.
And apparently they could have played on grass when they were in England, but they rolled turf out over it.
Yeah, I saw that.
But I guess it was the soccer team that didn't want the NFL tearing up their field, which I guess is understandable, but I'm sure the NFL would compensate you. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be able to replace the sod. They probably have enough money.
Yeah. So back to excuses. But back to excuses. The illegal man downfield penalty that got picked up against New England at the end of the game, that was the correct call, and I found out why. Is because the pass was behind the line of scrimmage. There is no penalty for illegal man downfield if the pass is behind the line of scrimmage. Because we was like, dude, how was he that not illegal man downfield? He was like 5 yards downfield blocking. You know?
Was that an assisted help? I had heard that was an assisted from like the booth that went and clarified that, which they're technically not supposed to do, but they kind of do to just they got the call right.
They could have, they could have. And then there was also talk about you could see Allen tapping on his headset. That, of course, the Bills' headsets were malfunctioning at times during the games in New England.
I think I'm going to have our flag football team this weekend doing an alert, alert, alert.
Yeah.
Like that's all I hear Allen doing the whole time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we covered the Bills pretty well. I mean, I don't know. We got a Jets-Giants game coming up this weekend with Tyrod Taylor obviously leading him back, and probably if they didn't pay this guy hundreds of millions of dollars, I don't know if Daniel Jones would be starting this week. But if he's healthy, I'm sure he's going to be starting, which, quite frankly, I think I'd rather him play at this point.
You'd rather play against Daniel Jones than Tyrod?
I think so. I feel like our corners will eat up Daniel Jones. At least, Tyrod probably makes a little bit of smarter decisions.
Yeah. He's not gonna lose. Tyrod's not gonna lose the game for you. Like, I got reminded really quick, and I'm sure you did too, Cole, of watching the game of what it was like when Tyrod Taylor was our quarterback. The good and the bad.
Do you remember the playoff game? We'll go back to the Jets. When the Bills got in the playoffs, was it Jacksonville? It was like the first playoff game.
Or was it the Texans?
I thought it was Jacksonville. I remember,
it was Jacksonville.
We were so excited that we all went to the bar to watch the Bills playoff game. We were like pumped. We had head-to-toe Bills gear. Allison and I went. The kids, we had a babysitter.
You have head-to-toe Bills gear? That's interesting. What were you wearing on your toes?
I had my toes painted, everything. And I remember, Joe, that was like the most boring game I've ever.
Yeah.
And it was Tyrod Taylor, like check down, like terrible. That's what I think of when
was that the 7-3 game or whatever it was.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that one.
For some reason, Jacksonville seems to have our number.
Yeah.
Because then you also had that was like the one game Urban Meyer won was against us, and it was like a 9-6 game or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they actually thought this New England game that they were going to come out with like the 50 rushes like they did in the snow wind game against the Bills, but they completely flipped the script. So that's Bill Belichick.
Mac Jones completes 25 out of 30 passes like he's Tom Brady.
That's kind of what he does, though. They give you this, plays that you think are going to happen, and then all of a sudden they come out with a completely different game plan. He does that very often.
He does. And the other thing he did was there was a play that the Bills used a lot. Do you remember the interception Allen threw trying to throw to Gabe Davis against the Jets?
Yeah.
That was the exact same play that he threw the interception on to start the game.
That was awful.
Yeah. To Knox, yes. Yeah. It was different personnel, but it was the same thing. So Belichick, they run that play all the time. I saw a video on TikTok showing, you know what I mean, all the times the Bills run this play. So like the linebacker knew it was coming, so he like deked him a little bit and then jumped it was still probably a bad read by Josh.
Yeah, it was way underthrown.
But yeah, definitely Belichick knew that was coming.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you even saw this. Might be breaking news, but it looks like your boy Dawson Knox has got surgery.
Wrist surgery.
Yeah, 5 minutes after the coach just said, you'll have to ask him about why he dropped the pass or whatever. Yeah. And then 8 minutes, or I think it was 8 minutes later, then he's like, actually, he's injured and he's got to have surgery. It's like,
I've been down on Knox. I don't know. I haven't been a...
Kincaid's the better receiver for sure.
Yeah, Knox has had some big plays for the Bills, though. He's had some big games.
Yeah, he drops. He's just another guy. Like, how many guys can you have on your team that are going to give you drops, right?
Is he a $12 million tight end, though? I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's guys
for one season.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. He's getting definitely not.
I thought you were kidding. I thought that contract was not necessary. They didn't need to extend him that early, and then we go and draft Kincaid. I don't know. I mean, Knox is still a good tight end, but yeah, I don't know if he commands that kind of salary,
right?
Especially when you could have Kincaid, and then you got that money to spend on someone else,
right? Well, we'll see what Kincaid can do now. He's going to get a lot of playing time.
If that was Travis Kelce with that wrist injury, he would just shake it off.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Nice. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys caught that one quick.
Oh yeah. Who doesn't know? Who doesn't know right now?
It's a catchy little tune. You know it well if you have daughters,
Yeah. Or if you watch a Chiefs game.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Or any like sports highlight show after the first week where they had to get all,
I'd bring her to every game with the stats that guy's putting up when she's around.
Yeah.
We got NBA starting tomorrow. I don't know if you guys talk NBA, but NBA kicks off.
Yeah, you're what are you, a Bulls fan still or no?
No, I'm a Warriors fan now, just because of the kids. But do you guys talk Amerks hockey, Joe, or
no? No, absolutely
that
not.
Was one like it's great to listen. You mentioned listening to the radio, Glenn. It's awesome listening to like Buffalo radio after they lose and people saying the most ridiculous things like got to move on from Allen, you got to trade Diggs. But the dumbest thing I heard was the Bills are so disappointing to watch that we're lucky we have the Sabres.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
bad.
What are you talking about? The Sabres are the most awful organization.
No, I don't think Buffalo will ever lose the Bills. You'll be just fine.
No, or trade Diggs. It's like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll see if they lose this week. I'm sure he'll make some noise.
I don't know. I think the more I see it, and the more I see with this out of Diggs, I think a lot of it's unfair, and I think he is a constant professional and shows up, expects the best out of his teammates,
Yeah, just an all-around good guy.
When you have nothing around him, you need, like, it's different. Like, if you think of basketball, you could have, like, Steph Curry or LeBron take over a game. I mean, Diggs, he's great, but he can't take over a game because they're just going to double coverage him because Gabe Davis sucks, right?
I mean, he's had a fine season, right?
He doesn't suck. He's more of like a third receiver, than a guy you really could count on regularly.
I don't think he considers himself a third receiver.
Well, no, and nor should you, right? Like, I think everybody on that field should consider themselves that, hey, I want to be a number one, right? Like, I don't think you make it that far.
Yeah, 7 games, got 22 catches for the season.
Yeah, how many touchdowns?
4.
Yeah, that's a good. Those are Gabe Davis lines.
Yep. Yeah.
He'll get a big play, Gabe Davis.
Yeah. So you feel good, Glenn, about Sunday, the game Sunday for the Jets?
I feel good. It's a game we should win. Obviously the Giants are going to bring it. They're both playing in their home stadium, so the crowd should be rowdy. I don't know. We've lost to the crappy teams and beat the good ones, so it's hard to say we're definitely going to win it. But if we're going to do anything, we have to win this game. We're coming off a bye. Best case scenario for us in this game. What do you guys think?
I just think I think it's a toss up. I mean, it's just
it's a 3-point game, so
it's just going to be. There's obviously no home field advantage, right? So that's not going to really play into it.
Who's getting 3 points?
Giants. Okay. Yeah. We like being the dogs, though.
The Jets are probably, I would say the Jets are definitely, if not probably, the better team.
I don't think anyone saw this game as being a Jets favored game, but it is now.
We'll see how it goes.
I think it should be.
Yeah.
No,
as you said, Glenn, how bad the Bills barely beat the terrible Giants. So, what happens if the Jets lose to the Giants, right?
Yeah, that would be terrible. I would consider that a bad loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I would expect you guys to consider the Patriots a bad loss when they're 1-5.
I believe I said it was perhaps the worst loss of McDermott's career
this week.
Yeah.
I would say you're probably right. 1-5. I wonder how many teams won the Super Bowl with losing to a 1-5 team. Be an interesting stat.
Yeah, a team that I don't think had scored 20 points all season.
No. Yeah, no,
I think bad. Mac Jones. The 2 games that he didn't have an interception were against the Bills and the Jets.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. But they didn't score any points against us. We just couldn't score any. Our only touchdown was a punt return. Yeah, we're starting to roll here a little bit, though. Non-headband Zach Wilson is winning some games.
Yes.
I know I think he spent the past weekend with his nice model girlfriend, so he's relaxed, he's ready to go. I don't know if Salah had him reading any books or anything, but he's got a good head on his shoulders now. He's understanding what we need to do, how to run the offense, feed Breece Hall, get him going, get his ball to Garrett Wilson, keep him happy, forcing balls up to him just like the Bills do to Diggs. That's how you got to do it. Got to keep these guys happy.
You got a great defense, and your defense is pretty healthy, right?
Yeah, knock on wood, pretty healthy so far. obviously you guys know how that could change quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we did lose Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's, that makes up for a few of your
Do you
losses.
make anything of this? Like, I'm not buying it that he's going to come back this year. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I think he's targeting Christmas Eve game back.
I don't think.
Well, dude, they actually said, I forget who they were talking about. God, I wish I could remember his name. I think it was a basketball player.
Was it his shaman maybe that told him?
Well, that's what I was saying. If it's possible for any reason, it's because of all of the therapeutic things at his disposal. Not only does he have the cutting edge traditional science, I'm sure he knows every hokey, shaman remedy and pumice and rub and all these other techniques and deprivation tanks and all this.
4 months would be pretty insane, though. I mean, 4 months, if that guy's on the field, I'd be nervous that thing's going again, but he's not going to take any precautions unless he's 100% healthy and ready to play. I mean, what a boost that would be if he came back. And it also matters if they're in contention or not, too, So
I think he's
games.
Putting that out there, like, aspirationally, motivationally for the team. From a medical, I just don't see. I'm not a doctor either, by the way.
Oh, you're not? We didn't get your profession. So.
Well, you didn't give me a chance to go through my credentials, but being a medical doctor isn't one of them. But I just don't see it happening at all.
Yeah, I don't as well. But there's never been a more motivated guy than him. When you talk to him, he loves the doubters. He loves guys like you that doubt it, and that's what motivates him every single day. He said it many times.
He's interesting. Like, I got to a point where I'm like, I kind of like you see him around his teammates. I did like him on Hard Knocks, but I've watched him like on Pat McAfee every week, and I'm like, I'm starting to like, I don't know about this guy. Like, he's a little much. Like,
he's different.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen a lot. He's done a lot in the league. I mean, I know everyone gets mad because he's only won one Super Bowl, but he does have one. But dude, he's been the greatest teammate. Even before the last game. He did not intend on coming to the game, and Saleh called him and basically was like, hey, this would be huge for the team. They really enjoy the boost. And he made the flight from California to New York to be at the game. Guy was on the sidelines. Does that really
make you that great of a person, though? I mean, like...
Yeah, because what he said, I mean, if you I don't know, you don't watch Jets press conferences, but Robert Saleh said, like, when veterans, especially when they have, like, long-term season-ending injuries, like, you don't see them. Like, they're just gone. They're rehabbing. They're doing their thing. They very rarely actually care to come back and go to every game. So he obviously cares, which he's made very clear about this team, and he wants to be a part of it, which is huge. I mean, you guys would be in the same exact spot if you were sitting in my chair, if you were sitting with a team that just struggled at quarterback every single year, and you got a veteran guy like Aaron Rodgers that actually wanted to play. I mean, it's like Brady coming to your team.
But it's not Brady, though. It's Aaron Rodgers.
We don't know. We don't know yet. Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers were pretty happy to get Brady for 2 seasons.
Yeah. Well, how old was Brady when he went to the Bucs? 41?
38.
No, he's older. No, he only played 2 years. He's like 45 now. 44?
Yeah. Oh, he is.
Yeah, he was in his 40s when he went there. Yeah, we were trying.
Rodgers...
I think he's 47, so he actually must have been older.
No, he's not.
I think Brady. I think he might be.
He's 58, Joe.
Yeah.
No, I think he might be 47.
I think he just got Social Security.
No, he's either 44, 45, 47. I love it.
Nope, he's 47.
46.
He was born in
He just turned 46.
He was born in 1977.
I don't know if you can see it. You can't see it. He just turned 46. His birthday was August 3rd. That's why you stick to social studies, buddy.
I said he was. I said he was 47.
No, they wanted him to play this year at 45.
How is that?
45,
how is that off?
Well, you're up by a year.
So it's how much were you off by?
A year. I said he's 45.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was 45 when the year started. I didn't know we were talking today.
What else are we talking about?
Well, I was saying bringing in a 45-year-old quarterback. Like he was 45 when.
Well, he would have been. His birthday's August 3rd, so he would have been 46 when the football season started.
That's true. They probably wouldn't have signed him on the first day, though.
I don't know. I just think coming back from that injury at that
Are
age.
you 47 now, Joe, or no?
I thought I was 47, but I was also born in 1977, so maybe I'm only 46.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You
Is
and
that,
Tom.
bad? Is that bad? I don't know how old I am.
I happened to me the other day. I'm 44, and I was like, when I turned 44, I was like, I think I'm going to be 44, or am I going to be 43?
No,
it's pretty bad.
You're older.
Oh yeah, I'm 46.
There you go.
Yeah,
you just got an extra year of life.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun though.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, thanks for so a couple shout outs. So I got to give an international shout out to the Bills Mafia Colombia chapter, Bills Mafia Miami for Enzo Losada, and then Bills Mafia Charlotte for my brother-in-law. That's my circle of Bills fans. So I got to give him a shout out.
Sounds like a triangle.
Yeah, it is a triangle, but there's other people in the circle that I didn't mention.
Tough to make a circle out of that. But
there's other people in the circle I didn't mention.
I hear you. Joe, any shout outs for your Bills fans, friends?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Am I the first guest to do shout outs? Was that?
Hey, we're hoping. And subscribe if you're still listening an hour into this with Joe and Brian, the Bills lovers and the Bills excuse makers. We love having you. Tell your friends about us, and go Jets.
Go Bills. Go Bills at Wegmans, Sunoco, wherever you
want
are.
to do a virtual high five as we sign off?
No, but I'll give him a hey. Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
All right, thanks. See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Rivals Sports Pod. Please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also email us at rivalsportspod@gmail.com with any topics, ideas, or questions.